Namaste. Welcome to Current Affairs with Jyotsna Sharma, my exclusive show that keeps you updated about current affairs and events that are relevant to you. Today I am back with another interesting and important topic. Important and interesting for the people who are immigrants in this country. This time I'm going to talk about the new 2023 registration process for the H1B visas, the high skill immigrant visas, and also about H4, that is H4 spouse visas, basically processing time update, and we will also talk about the visa bulletin for the green cards, as there is a long wait for the green cards for the Indian immigrants in this country. Well, to have a healthy discussion and get the right guidance, I have my esteemed guest with us tonight. Her name is Prashanthi Reddy. Miss Reddy attended the University of Pennsylvania Law School, LLM, in 1996. She completed that. She has experience in the immigration field since 1997. She is admitted to the bar in New York. Miss Reddy is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association and the New York Bar Association. She was voted as a super lawyer for 2022 as the top 100 lawyers by the National Advocates, top 100 immigration lawyers in the state of New York by the American Society for Legal Advocates. She was recognized by the Lawyers of Distinction, recognized her excellence in immigration law. She was also recognized by the American Institute of Legal Counsel as the 10 best immigration attorneys in New York. She is presently the Immigration Counsel and advisor for the Indian Consulate in New York and immigration advisor for the American Telugu Association. She was also the immigration chair for the National South Asian Bar Association. She is actively involved in pro bono legal work and volunteers for organizations such as Trial Lawyers Clear, Victims of 9/11, Manvi and Sakhi, Women's Organization in New Jersey and New York, and the New York Immigration Coalition and Safe Passage. Well, pretty much decorated profile. Very, very warm welcome to you, Prashanthi Reddy.
Hi, Jyotsna. How are you?
Excellent. And I always feel energized and, I get enriched every time when I speak to you about the immigration processes in the United States of America. Well, I'm back again because I have a list of questions, and these are the curious questions by the non-immigrant community, who are aspiring to come to United States and who are here already. So first and foremost, Prashanthi, as we were speaking about the spouse visas, H4 visas, the USCIS has delayed their processing many-fold in the last few years. So I would like to get inputs from you about the H4 visa processing times. Then we would also go on to discuss about the new H1B registration. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the H1B, the visa bulletin basically.
Sure, Jyotsna. And it's always a pleasure to be with you and to speak with you. And it's always, very interesting to be on your shows because you keep everything so lively. And, we have open discussions on many issues. So let's start off.
Thank you.
H4, you're welcome. H4 and H4 EAD have been a bane of our existence for last couple of years. Well, the good thing is they started H4 EAD. So just to backtrack a little bit, H4s are dependents of H1B people, and a few years ago they allowed H4s to get EADs, meaning get employment authorization. And not all H4s could get employment authorization. It was only those H4s whose spouses had an I-140 approved. So these certain select H4 candidates could apply for EAD, and this EAD was actually much better than being on a H1 because it has no restrictions with reference to which employer you need to work for, no restrictions with reference to, having to work for someone either. You can work for yourself, have your own business. This was really a boon for a lot of those H1B people that were waiting on the sidelines because of, the long green card delays and having to be on a H1 for years together.
Right.
6 years, 12 years, 10 years. So this was an outlet for them to at least for one spouse. One thing is for the second spouse to be able to work, so getting two incomes in the household. And the other thing is for the spouse to be able to actually open a business.
Absolutely.
Our immigrants are so entrepreneurial in nature, and they're always want to do something and, do business, hire people, etc., etc. So this allowed them to do that.
Right.
So all this was good and everything was going well when, we had a change of government, and then the H4 and H4 EAD processing times became delayed.
Humongously delayed, I would say that. A lot of
Right.
H4 people, H4 visa holders lost their jobs as their EADs were revoked because their H4s were not renewed on time. And that's where I'm curious now with 2023 here in picture, what is the scenario?
So the reason they were delayed is because they started a new requirement for biometrics.
Right.
So they wanted to check the criminal activity of every H4 holder, and even a person who's filing for a B2, any I-539 application, they wanted to check biometrics, so go through a security check.
Right.
And this really held up both B2s, H4s, F1s, everything, all those people that needed biometrics. And so they couldn't process it any longer along with the H1. So earlier they would process H4s and H4 EADs along with the H1 application. So when the H1 was approved, you would get automatically, together with the H1, you would get a H4 approval or get a H4 EAD approval. So now, as a result of a case that was filed, Edakuni versus Mayorkas, the USCIS came up with a settlement. A settlement agreement was signed, whereby USCIS has agreed now to process the way they used to before, the H4s and H4 EADs along with the H1s.
Very nice. Excellent. This is a very, very major development.
Yeah, this is great news for us because now the processing time, which was actually 10, 12, 14 months, is now back to being 2 to 3 months.
So the only curious question here, Prashanthi, sorry to interrupt here.
Yeah.
Would they be able to file it in the premium processing with their spouses as H1B is
I was just going to say that. So if you file if they file premium processing, then it's even 30 days. So if a H1 is premium processed, then the H4 gets approved along with the H1 according to the settlement agreement.
Awesome.
So that would be 30 days.
Kya baat hai. It's excellent.
This is excellent.
a major achievement of this lawsuit, I must say, and it's great news for the entire H4 community.
The only thing to keep in mind is that the H4 and H4 EAD and H1 have to be filed together.
Right.
If they file separately, then the processing time is different.
That is the same.
I must say though, H4 processing times, they have improved. Not the EADs that much, but just the H4s, they've improved processing time. And they've reduced it a few months right now. But EADs are still delayed. So try and file your H4s along with your spouse's H1 wherever possible.
And about the biometrics, what's the situation now?
So, so when Biden administration came in, they removed the biometrics rule.
Okay.
So this should have happened much earlier when they removed that, but you know how things happen in USCIS. It's like a dinosaur. So nothing happened until it was forced upon them. And even USCIS agreed that this is a better system for them because it's easier for them to approve H4s along with the H1s rather than doing it later.
In fact, they go over the process again and again otherwise. I mean, when the
exactly, then they have to
of the spouse, it's better.
Correct. So even they found that this was an easier and better process and they wanted to go back to it. I have no idea why they didn't and why it took a lawsuit to make them do it.
Well, there is always something that brings a change. Thankfully, this was the lawsuit this time. Well, Prashanthi, I have another question. Is there any proposal by USCIS to increase the fees anywhere?
Yes, this is another something we need to discuss because it's a possibility. So USCIS has published in the Federal Register that they propose to increase the fee, and it's pretty significant. That's why we need to talk about it. They've increased H1B fee. They've put an increase of $600 flat on all I-129 forms, so I-129 and I-140 forms. So these are H1s, Ls, Os, everything that uses an I-129 and the I-140.
Oh, and so majorly $600 flat have been increased at many visa levels. You mean
going to proposal? That's a proposal.
Proposal, okay.
And so what happens is they put the proposal in, then they wait for comments for 60 days. So I think the 60 days period is getting over in the first week of March. Then they will see the comments. They will go through each one of them. And then they will decide finally, what has to be done.
Another question. Yeah. Can normal general public put the comments there?
Yes.
On the comment
Anyone
section?
can. So, anyone can. Of course, it has to be meaningful because otherwise there's no use in putting a comment.
So they go to USCIS
most people
website?
Do.
Where do they go exactly to put the comment?
To the USCIS website and search for fee increase.
Okay.
and you should be able to find it.
Perfect. Now let's.
So
Yeah.
also, in addition to the $600 fee, there is also an increase of the fee, basic fee from 460 to 780.
What is this basic fee basically?
So for H, this is specifically for H1s. Now that previous fee which I talked about was for
Blanket.
all I-129s,
Right.
but specifically for H1s, it's a double whammy because they're increasing it again, increasing it further. So the basic fee is 460, and then there is three other types of fees. So the total fee right now is about $1,700 to $2,000 for a H1, depending on the size of your company.
My goodness. So if you,
One of the element of the fee is 460, which is the basic fee, right? So now that basic fee from 460, they're increasing it to 780. So if you're on a H1, the increase in fee is about $900.
now I have a question, pertaining to the entire, this consulting industry. The people, the employers do sponsor H1Bs for their employees, and it's a big expense. How much is the change now? If we speak about generically, there are big size companies, there are small size companies, On an average, how much would the employer be spending on H1B visa now for their employee?
Whatever they're spending earlier, about $900 to $1,000 more.
Wow. That's a big amount.
So that's a big, 1/3 more. I think the fee has increased by a third. That's pretty significant. In addition to that, it's not just H1s, EB5s. EB5 is the investor visa.
Right.
That has increased by 3 times. So it's from 3,600, it's increased to 11,000.
Okay.
Almost 4 times.
So USCI is planning to make big money through the immigrants.
Big money
apparently.
and no accountability, and let's hope they improve their processing times.
I wish they increase their speed with this and they hire more manpower if that be the case, because we have
That's
seen
the whole
humongous
idea.
delays.
But the problem is accountability, right?
Absolutely.
Accountability of what they're doing with the fee, why the fee is not enough, why are they bankrupt when there's so many cases being filed, and accountability for the benefits. It's a benefit. It's an organization that issues benefits, so there has to be accountability to the people who are paying the fee, right? So they have to get a service. It's a benefits-driven service, which USCI seems to forget, and the stakeholders forget also because they forget. So, and we look at it as more like an enforcement organization when it's not.
Well,
It's a benefits organization. So, moving on, family-based petitions also, the fee has almost doubled from 500 to 700. And for fiancé visas from 535 to 720. For other family-based visas, so if you're filing for your spouse, your child, your parents, it's changed from 535 to $820.
So USCIS will be rich soon, with this process.
I guess so. I don't know.
Good Lord.
Hopefully they'll use the money wisely, and we won't have any processing delays, and we'll have automation, which all of us want, right? I mean, now they send the mail by they send everything by mail, their approvals, their RFEs, and we have realized it's been so bad, the mail.
It's time to go
whether
digital.
It's the post office or it's USCIS.
True.
But there's so many mails that are missing. We miss RFEs, we don't get approvals, and then there is no easy process to get a duplicate.
Absolutely. It is time to go digital. Of course, to USCIS.
Yeah,
this is the digital world now, and you should go digitize there.
There's no reason not to.
100%. I mean, that's our suggestion to the USCIS, your suggestion, Prashanthi, as well. Well, proceeding to the next set of questions.
Last but not the least, just to wrap this portion up, the H1B registration fee, there's a proposal to change it from $10 to $215. So that's like 200%
wow.
increase.
This is huge.
But luckily, this won't be implemented for this season, but it will most probably, we'll see some change in the next season.
This is a shocker for the entire community who's, of course, the immigrants looking forward to be in United States of America. Well, this is the change. You have to accept it. Hard fact. That's how you live. Now, with another set of questions. Thank you, Prashanthi, for this set of questions right now. Now, with the new H1B registration for year 2023, updates, any changes, everything I need to know from you there.
Right. So the H1B, It's a first. Let's talk about what is the timeline. If just to backtrack before that, what is a H1B registration? H1B registration is something that was started 2 years ago, whereby you put in an application online. It's a small application with limited information in it. Based on that application, they then run those applications through a lottery, and then after they complete the lottery, they will then send a rejection or approval. If you made it in the lottery, they'll send an approval. Otherwise, they'll send a rejection. Once you get that approval, registration approval, then you have to file your H1 within 90 days. So this is a new thing that has come into play. Before, everybody would file in a rush starting March 1st because you'd have,
Right.
you know, but limited amount of time to file before cases got rejected, because we're seeing the numbers of H1 cap numbers available versus the number of people filing, which is threefold or fourfold. So everybody would file their entire H1 application with the fee, and then all the applications, then they would have a lottery, and then all the applications which would be resulted. So it was really a wasteful way of doing it, because there was time and money and effort put into
Right.
filing an entire application. So now all you have to do is file the form.
So there's a quick
So
question,
let's see, when does it start?
excuse me, sorry, again
Yeah.
interrupting here. Before we proceed to the next question, as far as registration is concerned, say supposedly there is a person, Ram, and he has to, he is seeking an H1B. Can his registration be done by different employers at the same time, or only one registration at a time?
So the beneficiary can have several employers doing his registration, but one employer can file his registration only once.
Okay, and say supposedly 2-3 employers file for the registration, and he in the lottery it gets picked up.
So I was just talking to a client just now. He got a notice of intent to revoke because they found collusion. So there is a rule that two employers cannot, two or more employers cannot collude with each other to file one beneficiary's registration through several different companies. So company A, company B, company C, and company D. They get together and decide, I have to file, all of us, let's file Ram's application.
Oh.
So his chances of getting picked in the lottery are more.
Right.
So they can't do that. So if USCIS finds collusion, and they do, because I was reading this case that was actually approved, and then they sent a notice of intent to revoke.
Goodness.
And in that, they basically mentioned the names of all the companies, and that all the companies have, they found same beneficiaries in all this. So they've done all the homework. It was like detective work.
So collusion means
the names of the owners.
Right.
And they said, look, we approved it. Now we intend to revoke it, and this is fraud. And please respond within 30 days.
So basically, employers should not know each other. Different employers are not aware of each other's, existence.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Correct.
This is something interesting.
Right. And of course, you cannot file for RAM twice. You can only do one registration if you are a company.
Got it. Okay. So one registration at a time by different employers though, but they should not be knowing each other. Correct. No collusion at a time.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
So going to the timelines now. Registration is going to start on March 1st, March 1st noon, and it will go up to March 17th noon.
Okay.
Again, it's not end of day, it's not 12 p.m. It is 12 p.m., it's not 12 a.m. So it's 12 noon to 12 noon.
Okay.
March 1st, ending March 17th.
12 noon.
So from March 18th to the end of March 31st, they'll do the lottery, and you'll start getting your notices as to whether you've been approved.
Right.
And then come April 1st, you're allowed to file your H1. And you have 90 days to file your H1. So June 30th is when all the H1Bs have to be filed by.
Nice. Pretty much streamlined this time. It's different. It's good for last 2 years, I believe. That way it's good.
Yeah.
Less paperwork. Otherwise, they would pile up the entire files in the beginning itself, and then they would go waste the whole piling,
Right. The whole time and effort and money spent sending, and also paper.
100%.
Because the entire package would then be sent back, and then you don't know what to do with that package.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the timeline. Okay, got it. Now, as far as filing the paperwork is concerned, of course, first is basic registration and all. It can be done. It's generic, right? Employers only do it. There is like the prospective employee has no role to play, right?
Correct. It's either the employers or their attorneys that register.
Perfect. You guys are also doing it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
We get very busy in March.
all right. So if somebody has to reach out to you to file, the
Yes.
companies, you are reachable?
Absolutely.
Taking new cases?
Absolutely.
All right, so I can definitely endorse. Prashanthi is doing good work in this, as I had already introduced, pretty decorated introduction of Prashanthi. She's been doing some successful filings and have been really doing good work for the green cards of the people. If you're looking out for the right help, Prashanthi, where should they reach out to you?
They can send me an email, prashanthi@reddyesq.com.
All right. Thank you. Anyways, let's proceed next now. With the filing process, what are the pros and cons or do's and don'ts?
So let's talk briefly about the process to register.
Okay, sure.
I'm just putting this out there for people who either have an attorney or but want to learn about the process because it's good to educate oneself, or you're doing the registration on your own. Then you should be able to do it and get at least a few pointers on how to register, right?
Got it.
So first you have to go to the website myuscis.gov. You sign up, give your email address, create a password for yourself. It'll ask you to create a two-step verification process. There'll be, so you can either give your email or give your cell phone, your mobile number, and it'll send you a text. And then so each time you try to register, you'll get a text or an email with a code, and then you enter that code, and then you'll be able to log in. So it's a two-step process.
Got it.
Important to note that you have to select the option I am a H1B registrant. A lot of people make the mistake and they select I am a H1B petitioner, which is logical to select because you are a H1B petitioner.
Right.
But at this point of time, what you're doing is you're registering. So you have to select I am a H1B registrant, right? And then after that, you can either start the registration yourself, or you can give all your information to your attorney. Your attorney will fill out the entire form for you, and you will get a passcode from your attorney. Then you will receive that passcode and enter that passcode at this point. And you will select the option, receive a passcode from my attorney. And then you'll be allowed to enter the passcode. You'll be able to review the entire form that the attorney has filled out, the G28, accept everything and sign and finish and send. So either do it yourself or do it through an attorney. Now, if you're doing it yourself, there's some basic information that you need to fill out. There's some beneficiary information that you need, and there is company information. So what information is needed to start the registration in case you're doing it yourself? Or even if you're giving it to an attorney, you need to give this information. So you need to fill out the first, middle name, and last name of the applicant. Make sure you fill this out in right order. Make sure that you are you don't make any typos, because if you do and the name doesn't match with the name that, if it gets approved, then you file a H1. If it doesn't match with the I-129 application, then they'll suspect if it's the same person or you're filing for someone else. Then you'll have to give additional information to show it's the same person and to show that it's a typo. So don't make any typos. Of course, you'll enter the gender of the applicant. You will enter whether it's a US master's or you're filing under the bachelor's quota. Very important. At this point, you can enter this information. Remember, at this point, it is not needed that the person completed their master's. As long as you know that they're going to complete the master's or going to complete all the requirements towards getting a master's at the time of filing the H1.
Perfect.
That's fine. Even if they don't have the master's, now you can still apply under the master's quota. Important point to note, good pointer for all those who don't know. Then, of course, you enter the date of birth, country of birth, your citizenship. Passport number is very important. This is optional, but I suggest you enter it, because if there are two applicants which have similar names, they might reject both applicants thinking that they're the same person. But if they have identifiable passport numbers which are different, then they know that they're different people. So always enter the passport number. With reference to company information, it's just the name, what your DBA name is, your FEIN, and your address. Please make sure you enter the correct address. In case you change address after the registration and before your H1 is being filed, you have to show proof of address, and you have to show that you're the same company that filed the registration. So get ready to do that in case you change your address afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So, pretty much this, and about the company information, what all details are to be provided?
So just basically the FEIN number, the address of the company, and the name of the company. That's it at this point.
Okay. All right. And what are the do's and don'ts of the registration process, which is very important?
Right. So one is if you already have an account, please check your account to make sure it's working and it's active before March 1st. If you're going to check on March 1st, you'll panic because then there's a deadline. You're better off checking beforehand. Make sure that you are creating an account for yourself before you give the information to your attorney. So the attorney can only create or prepare the form for you after you create your account. If they do that before, then it will not sync. When you open your account, you'll use a certain email. Make sure you give that email to your attorney and not some other email. If you don't give that particular email, then again, the sync won't work.
Got it.
Another important thing is a lot of people are confused. They think that they have to file an LCA before you file the registration. That is not needed. The LCA is part of the H1 petition, and that is only done once the registration is approved and you get that approval to start filing your H1. So no
Right.
LCA required for registration, just the registration. Make sure you, as I said, mention your passport number. Remember, there's no option to edit after your case is submitted. So make sure you have all the information correct, no typos. If you have typos, then there is more documentation needed at the time of filing a H1.
Right.
So it's a little troublesome. It's not the end of the world, but try and make sure there are no typos in your registration.
Well, this was for today. Thank you, Prashanthi, for all the inputs, for all the important things that we discussed. And we look forward to have you in our next show as well very soon. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you, Jyotsna. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And to all my audience, again, I'll be back with another interesting topic next week. Until then, stay blessed, stay happy. Bye-bye.